Association presents Reiki Topics. And our series, Reiki Topics and Techniques, we're episode 3 out of 4. And we have a panel of Reiki wisdom holders to answer your questions. We've had a lot of great questions posted, a lot of views on the 2 previous episodes, which are available for replay. The link is on the post. So tonight we have Andrea Kennedy, Reiki Master Teacher of Mainstream Reiki in Saline, Michigan. Karen Cagg, Reiki Master Teacher of Arkansas Reiki Institute in Bentonville, Arkansas. And Kathleen Johnson, Reiki Master Teacher of UniverSoul Heart Reiki in Bloomsburg, PA. Thank you, ladies, for coming tonight. Now, Barbara Rose was not able to make this episode. She'll be back next episode. So tonight we're going with the panel here. And I want to thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. And I want to bounce it over to you. What's the first topic we're going to talk about tonight?
Well, I think we had mentioned earlier talking about is Reiki a religion? You know, that comes up quite often with students, and I know the International Association of Reiki Professionals, they actually wrote an article about it several years ago, and I do keep seeing it circulating on social media, so I think that it is a good topic for us to start with. Kathleen, what do you think about Reiki and religion?
Well, Reiki is not a religion. It is not affiliated with any religion that we know of. It has no dogma, very few rules, which is one of the things that really attracted me to Reiki. It's really all about your intention, and it's a very beautifully simple practice, which isn't mired in a lot of, dogma, for lack of a better word. I usually go over this particular issue at some length when I'm teaching Reiki 1, because a lot of students, like you said, Andrea, have that question. Is Reiki a religion? And I have noticed, at least with my practice and my teaching, a lot of my students will come and they are concerned that it may have religious affiliation and that it may conflict with their religion of choice. So I like to get that cleared up pretty early on in a Reiki 1 class, so that the students are aware that I'm not trying to convert them to any other religion. Reiki it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a path of spiritual growth, or it can simply be used for healing yourself as well as others. It can really be whatever you want it to be, whatever you need it to be. But a religion, it is not. And that's my approach to it with my students and the clients who ask as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Karen?
Same for me. Because I live in Arkansas, which is smack dab in the middle of the Bible Belt. A lot of students have concerns about whether, coming from Japan, like, oh, do I have to be Buddhist to do this? Or, and I say, no, it's not a religion. It is compatible with the Reiki principles, because we go over the Reiki principles in Reiki 1, and those 5 principles are compatible with any spiritual path or no spiritual path. I mean, because a lot of people do have concerns about that. I'm like, no, how many, or just a philosophy, how many religions teach, like, don't worry, just for today, do not worry, to be grateful, to devote yourself to your work, to be kind. All of those principles dovetail with all of the great religions, or no religion at all. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I always have to address it, though, because people are, especially if you're coming from a religious tradition that is really exclusive and says that any other religion is bad, or any other influence is of the devil. I mean, I have literally run into that from people asking me about Reiki before, like, well, don't you think that this is evil? Like, no. Do you guys have that problem?
One of the things that I noticed and was particularly excited about is the use of Reiki, this spiritual tool, amongst all the religions. There's every religion out there that utilizes it as a spiritual practice. Meditation, yoga, these sort of things. It's a tool, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I totally agree with that. And, to practice Reiki, you don't have to trade anything else in. There's no admission price. You don't have to sacrifice anything to practice. You just don't. That's one of the reasons that I love Reiki, because it doesn't exclude anyone. We all have a body, we all have an energy system, and it makes sense to me that then you automatically have a right then to use Reiki and not, like I say, change who you are or who you think you are, any beliefs or anything. There's nothing to give up or to compromise within yourself in order to practice. So absolutely. I mean, Reiki goes with everything. As we know, it's just, it's an equal opportunity. It's an equal opportunity benefactor or something. It doesn't discriminate. About who it can help or why. It's something that we're all equal in. So.
Yeah, it's
a little black dress of healing. It goes with everything. It's a tool in your spiritual toolbox, really.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure. Now, I know that I think all three of us have taken Holy Fire class as well, and Stephen, you as well. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of questions about Holy Fire and what that is and how that came to be. And with the word holy, that brings up the religious question a lot. I hear, with my students too, because you say the word holy and they automatically think, Holy Bible, religion, that kind of thing. And I had that question at first too, when I first heard of Holy Fire. So I tell my students that it comes from the root word, meaning whole and complete. And then you can kind of visibly see them go, oh, and there's a little bit of, relief, I think, that they understand that. But so let's talk a little bit about Holy Fire. And, what made you, Karen, what made you go ahead and decide to take Holy Fire? And what have you noticed with Holy Fire, and what can you tell people about it?
I usually share the story of I was reluctant to take it. I had Usui Tibetan Reiki. It was working great for me. And I was, happy as a clam. I really didn't want to do Holy Fire. And I had some trepidation over the name also. I thought, but what happened was a friend of mine went ahead and took the Holy Fire class in Sedona. And he was at a Reiki share, and it was my turn on the table, and I was lying on the table, and I became aware of something different down by my right foot. And I thought, what is that? Because I had several people, giving me Reiki at once. And I thought, what is that? And then when my turn was over, I opened my eyes, and it was my friend who had done Holy Fire. And I went, that's different. It felt stronger, but more subtle, if that makes any sense. It felt so different from the Reiki that I was receiving from the other people that I thought, I want to be attuned to that. I want that energy. And so I did. And by that time it was already Holy Fire too. And I've noticed, especially on myself, more layers of healing opening up. And I also noticed a difference in my clients. I really think it kind of goes to the root of what's bothering them more quickly than the Usui Tibetan, in my experience. How about you guys?
Oh, I agree. my I guess my introduction to Holy Fire was similar to yours, Karen. I really resisted taking the Holy Fire training, and really it was the word holy that kept tripping me up. And it just was, oh, I don't know that I can do this. I was really happy with Usui Reiki, but it, as Reiki does, it just kept popping up everywhere I would look. I'd see something about Holy Fire in a magazine, or I'd see it in a book I was reading, or it would come up on a website. I'm like, oh. So finally, it takes me a while. I'm a little slow on the uptake at times, but finally I said, okay, I did a little research on it, read about it, and I was like, okay, now I feel better about this. I realized that it was just me not getting out of my own way, which was the issue there. So I took a whole team with Carolyn's Holy Fire teacher. She was wonderful. It was a great class. And very similar to your story, Karen, when I came back from that class and I was working with clients, I don't tell my clients, hey, guess what I did? I now have Holy Fire. I don't do that. I mean, I just go about my business, and I don't really talk about the training I've had with clients. But every single one of them, and I can't think of any exception off the top of my head, noticed something different. They say, what did you do this time? It just felt different. And that sort of blew me away. I honestly wasn't expecting that. And I mean, I could tell the difference, but for them to tell me that is like, wow, I was feeling all these things and I feel so much clearer, and this just doesn't seem to bother me anymore. They're telling me all these like amazing experiences. And I was just so grateful that I had finally had enough sense to get out of my own way and take Holy Fire Reiki. And then I took Holy Fire 2 a year later, and that's even more amazing than the original Holy Fire. And just like you said, Karen, everything you said really resonates with me, because things just seem to clear up on their own without a lot of input or drama from me. Things that need healing just suddenly are like, oh, that doesn't bother me anymore. What happened? Huge blessing in my life.
Well, I go ahead, Karen.
No, I was just going to reiterate what she said, that there are things that have been healed in myself that I'm like, I lost that, like certain things that I really struggled with for years, and I wasn't really even thinking about, and just one day you go like, that's gone. Good. Wasn't even trying. It was I know it was the Holy Fire Reiki. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Kathleen, what you said resonated with me about the feedback that you get from people. Yeah, I mean, amazing feedback. And I will have clients say, I went to Reiki, I had Reiki with this other person, a couple of years ago, and, I came here for your Reiki. What are you doing different? This was different. And I hadn't really, to be honest, thought about that until you just said that, Kathleen, about the clients noticing. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the Holy Fire and the other practitioner, that these people have gone to, the other practitioners. Maybe they weren't practicing that. Maybe that can account for that. I don't know. But for me, the Holy Fire thing, I didn't want to take it. I thought, oh, here we go. Here's another thing I got to go take. And then I kind of have this thing. I don't allow myself to go for more training if I feel like I have to have it because I'm not good enough. So I really examine myself to see, what are my motivations for taking this class? Why do I want to take it? So I really think about it a lot. And I remember considering Holy Fire, and then I got really quiet one day, and I guess meditated on it. And I got this guidance, this kind of awareness that the planet needs this energy. this energy is different somehow. And I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's better. I don't want to judge things and say one school is better than another or one lineage is better than the other. We need a variety out there, I think. But what I was guided to believe is that the planet needs this energy, and for however it's different, I don't know, but think of the millions of people on the planet that are practicing Reiki, and that what a perfect delivery system for something different and new to come in. Because if a fraction of those millions of people that are practicing Reiki go then and take holy fire, wow, we're all over the world then bringing in this different energy as a complement to everything else that's here already. And then when I had that sort of understanding, then I thought, okay, I want to do this. And one of my favorite things about holy fire is the fact that the teacher is no longer involved in the attunement process, and it allows the student to connect directly to the source of Reiki, which I love that, because we don't need a middleman when we're talking about connecting to the source. We don't need that. And so I love it for that. But also, a lot of people weren't teaching Usui Tibetan because it was very complex. The attunement process was a little overwhelming for some people. It was daunting, and so they wouldn't teach. So with holy fire, because it's so much easier to teach the classes and to attune people to this energy, how phenomenal is that? Because the more people teaching, the more people learn, and then the more that this energy can expand all around the planet and help more people, and the planet as well. So that's why I just love it so much.
I have to say, I was concerned with that new attunement, because after doing the Usui Tibetan, with all the steps and the, stand here, hold the way in and the violet breath and all of that, and I thought, well, what if this doesn't work?
Yes.
This is so simple. What if it doesn't work? But I found that the students' experience, the attunement experience, when it's finished and they journal about it and then share, what they've shared with me is just absolutely incredible, what they experience. So, yep, I thought, what if it doesn't work?
I know.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
Well, my first Holy Fire 2 class consisted of, no pressure there, there were 4 Usui Reiki masters in that class and 1 person who was totally new to Reiki. So I was a little freaked out because all these Reiki masters wanted to learn Holy Fire, and I had told them you don't have to start at the beginning, but they wanted to go all the way through all the levels. So there I am in this class with 4 Reiki masters and then this student who was brand new to Reiki, and I was just so worried about the placement. Like, oh my God, what's gonna I was just really performance anxiety, right? But at the end of the placement, it was so quiet in the room, and everybody just looked at each other, and it was that look as if, what just happened here? They were all completely just blown away. And I know that happened for a reason for me to sort of finally just blow out any kind of doubt that I had that this really was working. And I have never doubted it since. But that was truly a baptism by fire for me, having all those Reiki masters in the space with me and thinking, oh my goodness, what if this doesn't work? But Reiki knows exactly what to do, and it worked beautifully. And like you said, Andrea, all those steps with the attunement, I actually put off teaching for quite some time because of that. Like Karen said, the way in, I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. This is just, I don't have the physical strength for all this. But I finally got over that and started teaching. But when I found out I could just sit there and have my own experience and let it happen, I was bring it on, right? I love that. It is,
and don't you think that's the way? Don't you think it's so natural?
Yes.
It's just natural, and I mean, it should be easy.
Yes,
it should be.
that was what. Yeah, but the realization I had was like, this isn't about what you're doing. You know, it more comes through when you just get completely out. And, yeah.
I had a student ask me once though, and she said, "Well, what is your role then, you know, in the class during this?" And I hadn't really thought about it, and what came out of my mouth was, it's important. It felt important for some reason that there's a witness to this process. I felt as though I was a witness and a holder of space for it. But I definitely feel that the teacher does have a role in the process. It's just different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Those are the words I used, or that I felt was a holder of space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just holding sacred space. It's almost like creating no, I don't want to use that word. Well, I started to say like a temple, you know, because I don't want it to sound like a religion, but just holding a sacred place, point in time, space for it to happen.
Yes.
Now we have a question that came in on the post from Leslie Ann. She says, "It sounds like when you give Holy Fire Reiki, you don't tell the client that you're using a different Reiki form. So this wouldn't be a different price, just a different way of administering." These are questions. Yeah.
That's true for me.
It's the same price. I don't charge more for Holy Fire Reiki. It's the only kind of Reiki I practice and teach at this point. So for me, that's a moot question. I didn't change my pricing because of Holy Fire.
Mm-hmm.
No. And you know, my website, you know, says what I practice on my pages where I have class registration. I clearly state, you know, you will be certified in Holy Fire 2 Reiki, Holy Fire, Usui / Holy Fire 2 Reiki, because it's important for the student to know what they're, you know, what they'll be certified in. And then I tell them about Holy Fire. And then I think I have a link maybe to the ICRT pages on that. I'm not sure on that, but it is important that they know what the certification is. But yeah, I just look at it as just the next step in my path as a practitioner. So there's no real distinguishing thing for me as far as the session.
No change for me. It's all the same. And I'm like you, Andrea. I have a link on my website. I mean, I clearly state I teach Holy Fire 2, Usui Holy Fire 2 Reiki, and I clearly state that on the class section. You know, and like you, I feel it's really important to be transparent, and I don't say, oh, I do this and I do that, and I teach Holy Fire 2 Reiki at this point. So that's and that's what it is. And I have found that a lot of the students who come to my classes do so because they are seeking out the actual Holy Fire training. That is something they want, because it is still not very common. It is still somewhat uncommon. And so a lot of the students that I get in my classes have done so. They come to the class because they are specifically looking for Holy Fire training. I don't know if either you, Andrea, or Karen have experienced that with your students.
Many of my students don't. They don't know that there are even that many different kinds of Reiki. So they're
okay.
Yeah. As far as looking exclusively for Holy Fire, you mean? Is that what your question was, Kathleen? Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, maybe some. I just don't think that they're vocal about it. I think they know there are other kinds, but it just doesn't really I don't know. I'm not having a real memory of, of that particular concern or question.
And
yeah, my students tend to be pretty vocal, so that's how I know.
One of my master students, I mentioned that I had trained in the Holy Fire too, and he decided he was actually going into a kind of Reiki I hadn't heard of, the Shambhala Reiki, and I said that that's something that's important, that each student, I think, needs to follow what he or she is guided to take and I told him, I said, that's fine. I said, I think if that's where you feel drawn, I think that's what you should do, that's well, I guess coming from the International Center for Reiki Training, I was taught to respect all schools, all lineages of Reiki, and that students should follow what they feel guided to take.
Yeah.
I have a hard question. Students ask me sometimes, why would the Reiki energy change? Or why would there be, so your students are asking you, why Holy Fire 1 then Holy Fire 2? What do you guys say to that?
I thought we lost you there for a second. Well, isn't it, Holy Fire 2 came about with the River of Life experience, if I remember correctly. So that is the point that the attunement the process actually changed, was with Holy Fire 2. Because I think with the first Holy Fire, the attunement process was very similar to the Usui Tibetan. Isn't that correct? And then Holy Fire 2 introduced the River of Life experience. And that was what enables us to do the attunement or placement, is what we call them now, in a different way, where we're not involved. Is that your recollection of the difference?
Mm-hmm. But my students want to know, well, why would the energy change? And I think that as we evolve and expand, I said even the universe is expanding, and I think that the energy expands as well. I think that it. But I'm curious to see what you guys would say. How does Reiki energy evolve, or why does it evolve? And I think that it just evolves to work with us better as we spiritually evolve.
Well, I totally agree with that, and I think that when you know more is possible, when you're out on the leading edge. And then you get used to the leading edge, you look further, you grow further. That's what evolution's all about. And so I think we evolve in many ways. And I think we're seeing a lot of changes just in humanity in general. The vibration of the planet, the awakening that so many people are undergoing, you hear thinning of the veil, and all of these things. The ascension, and I don't know what I think about all of that stuff, but I will sometimes think, think about your grandparents, and what they thought of the world and what their beliefs were, and then look at today's world and how we've expanded in so many ways. And I would say, I think as a whole, we're a lot more open-minded now, and we're a global community where we weren't. So everything seems to be expanding. And when we know more, as I said, we can then look further. And I think we're ever expanding. And I think that the source of Reiki is unlimited. So why would our ability to evolve with that be limited? Or to be able to channel higher frequencies or different frequencies. It just seems, again, natural. I keep coming back to that word all evening, but it just seems like the natural thing. And, Usui himself said that the Reiki energy would evolve and change. And he never considered himself to know it all. He did not. So I think that the expansion and the addition of Holy Fire, but all the different lineages that are out there, I look at it like, forks, spoons, and knives and different utensils. I mean, you can't eat everything with a spoon. So it doesn't mean one lineage is correct either. So just like you said, Karen, for people to follow what they're guided to do, I mean, that's their truth. And I totally believe there's value in that, no matter what school of Reiki you learn or support or continue in. It's all good. It's all Reiki.
That's right. I think the best Reiki is the Reiki that the individual is guided to practice and teach. That's the one. There's no such thing as my Reiki is better than your Reiki. There's so many different styles and systems of Reiki for a reason, because we're all individuals, and Reiki works with each one of us in an individual way. And that is, I think, naturally going to involve various forms of Reiki. And so I think the best practice is the one that the person is guided to use in his or her life. For me, that particular practice is Holy Fire. That's the best one for me. Now, and that's just where I'm coming from at this moment. But who knows what's down the road, right? I mean, we don't. Several years ago, I would have said Usui Tibetan was the right one for me. That's how we evolve. We keep ourselves open to the changes and the growth and the development. And Reiki works with us when we allow that. As long as we remain open to the growth and to the changes, it will take us as far as we allow it. And I just know that as sure as I'm sitting here. It will take us as far as we let it. So.
For sure. Agreed.
Well stated.
Beautiful. Are we ready to move on to the next topic?
Sure.
How about Reiki, Reiki and other modalities? I see many Reiki practitioners that use other healing modalities along with Reiki and in different ways. So let's talk a bit about that and what you might get also from maybe a Reiki 1, Reiki 2 student coming in. And maybe they have part of their plan to do the Reiki training, but some other things. And then how do you mentor them on that?
Good question.
Well,
who wants to go first?
I'm going to go first because I think maybe I'm different on this, and so I'll get mine out of the way. And I'm just this purist. I am a Reiki purist. So my vision with Mainstream Reiki, my mission is to help more people experience Reiki. So we can have more people know about it, understand what it is, and then it just spreads like that, right? Into medical situations and into just more families, into more homes, just mainstream. So my whole vision of this is that because I went back and forth on this so many times, and we've probably all taken so many different workshops on things, right? So I have to say, though, when I do my sessions, it's me, the other person, or animal, but it's me, the other person, and Reiki. That is it. And the reason for that is, with my mission to get Reiki more mainstream, to have only Reiki in the session supports that. Because if I used all these other things in there, if I use crystals or essential oils or sound, anything else I would add, it wouldn't be clear that whatever happened in that room was Reiki. There would be a question. And so now if people come and we have our session and it's only Reiki, they know without a doubt what Reiki is, because whatever happened in that room, whatever experience they had and whatever results they have is from Reiki. It's not from anything else that I used. And so given that clarity, I think helps me on my mission, bringing Reiki more mainstream, because there's no doubt what it is. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It does. And it's a valid point too, because how would they know? You're right.
But I do want to say though that I think mixing Reiki with other things is great. I'm all for it. If I have students that want to mix it in and whatever, that's fantastic. I'll give them all the ideas that I get for them and help them, support them, whatever. All I'm saying is my current understanding of my mission is to do it this way. But I've thought about adding some crystals and things like that, but I'm just not there yet because this is just kind of my thing right now. So anyway, but no judgment. I think it's awesome to mix things.
I do use essential oils, and I see what you're saying. Sometimes I will use some crystals. I've been in some sessions where, as a recipient of Reiki, where I had so many, she was putting so many things on me, that it was almost distracting. I almost couldn't relax and just receive. It was like I knew it was like clunk something on my forehead and clunk here, and hold this crystal, and kind of like it really was distracting. So, and I do use essential oils, and I think that those could probably be distracting as well. And the client may not know, like, well, is it the oil or is it the Reiki? So I have usually something like peace and calming or something diffusing, but you can get that with the Reiki. I have to go back and I tell my students that this is something extra, but all you need is the Reiki. The Reiki can charge up the room and make the client feel welcome and relaxed. The Reiki does the work. Essential oils to me are so emotionally stimulating, triggering the limbic part of the brain. I think that helps. Personally, I think it helps with certain clients release. I think it just sort of speeds it up a little bit. There have been times when I'll use particular, like cedar wood or something if their energy is just like all over the place, I'll use maybe some cedar wood or something to help ground, just to kind of speed it up a little. But when I'm teaching, I do emphasize that the Reiki is enough on its own, and that these things can become distracting. You may have someone that I use no synthetic oils, but some people are even sensitive just even to all natural oils. So you have to be aware of that. But I emphasize to my students that the Reiki is enough, but I will use essential oils. And sometimes I have used black tourmaline or some quartz if I feel guided to do so. But I always start with the Reiki. That's the base. But I completely understand what you're saying. And especially having had some of those experiences of like, I just want some Reiki. Just Reiki, please. Stop putting things on me. So, yeah. And the sound healing, I've had sound healing sessions, and that's pretty amazing. But I can see where I really can't tell, like, what may almost be conflicting. Sometimes I do have this thought, because I do reconnective healing also, and I don't mix those at all because they feel completely different. And I think if I tried to mix them, I think that they would repel. I don't know how to explain it. I think maybe it can be too much. It can be too much, and it can kind of cancel out the Reiki. That's just my personal opinion. I don't even know if that's true, but that's the feeling I have sometimes in my experience. What do you think, Kathleen?
Well, I've always used crystals in my Reiki sessions. I was certified as a crystal healer over 2 years ago. I just love working with them. I consider them allies. And when someone comes to me for a Reiki session, that's what they get. But I always ask them if they are interested in having me employ some crystals in the session. And I've yet to have anyone turn me down. The way I view Reiki and crystals together, and I describe it this way on my website, I see that combination as the power couple of energy healing. They work so well together. It becomes synergistic in my experience when I am channeling Reiki with the use of intuitively chosen crystals. And I always choose the crystals intuitively. I don't plan it ahead of time. I don't always know what crystals I'm going to use. It all depends on the individual and the circumstances and a whole lot of other things. But excuse me. So I have found that when I use crystals in a Reiki session, it is not distracting. It actually enhances the healing, because you are now creating a synergy of healing created by the Reiki itself, which is the cornerstone of everything I do. I have I've been trained in a couple different modalities that I use. Reiki is at the cornerstone of every single one of those. And that is my foundation, my base, my home, if you will. And I have found that when I use crystals in a Reiki session, the effects of Reiki are amplified, and I have seen some really amazing things occur in a session when I have crystals. And again, I'm speaking from my experience, and I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, that I think that whatever a practitioner feels guided to do in his or her practice for the benefit of their clients is the right choice, whether it's using just pure Reiki or aromatherapy or sound healing or crystals or a little bit of all of those things. It's as long as it's something that the practitioner is guided to and that it resonates and that is in alignment with who that practitioner is and what their intention is for the client, it's all good. So for me, crystals, I consider them like part of my family. I have them all over my house. They get full moon baths every full moon. I wear them. They're in my pocket. I've got them around my dog's neck. I mean, they're everywhere. They're a huge part of my life, and including in my Reiki sessions. But I always ask. I always say, look, I'd like to work with crystals. Do you mind if I utilize a couple crystals in your session? I have yet to have anyone say no. I also offer a service called Reiki Crystal Healing Session, in which I utilize a lot of crystals, very intuitively chosen, fill out a couple. It's a longer session. We work with chakras more deeply, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think I'm just the opposite of you, Andrea. I've always used crystals with Reiki, so I guess I'm not a Reiki purist, but it just feels so natural for me. This just feels like the way to do it. And I think that's what we have to do, just honor the guidance, right?
Yes. Well, you know what? It's funny because lately, I would say it was probably about 3 weeks ago, and I was in the middle of a Reiki session, and I thought about something that I've said before, to students. And it just came to my mind during the session. And that is that as Reiki practitioners, I see us as anchors. That it's as though when I'm doing Reiki, I'm an anchor in this physical world, giving an entry place for those vibrations to come through into this dense plane. So I see myself as this anchor, which helps that come through. And as I had that thought go through my head during that Reiki session, all of a sudden, it was just this, it was the neatest little, it was just this realization in a microsecond, and it was wonderful. And it was that crystals are the exact same thing. They're anchors in the physical plane, this dense plane, that they're just tuned into whatever energy they're tuned into. And just like us, they help bring those frequencies in. And it was in that moment. And I thought, we're all, so when you say, they're part of your family, I mean, I use them in crystal grids. I have them in my house, and, I'm a crystal person. I just haven't used them in my sessions yet. But then when I was in that session and I had that realization and I saw and felt that unity, I thought, maybe I need to bring some crystals in my office. So I am, that's what, we're always talking about here as panelists, because you have to do what you're guided to do, right? And, we used to think a certain way, and then, we changed, and that's what I'm doing, right? So I don't know. I haven't brought them in yet, but I'm figuring that out, because I see them in a whole new light, and I really loved them before. So I don't know. We'll have to talk later.
Yeah, the times that I have used.
Oh, I can talk about crystals for a long time.
The times that I use specifically quartz, if I felt guided to use a specific quartz crystal, and I'm not sure how you use them, but I would place it on the body of the client and my hands over, and it felt like a magnifying glass, or like a, I mean, I could feel like the energy magnifying through the crystal. It felt like it was drawing more and pointing it, like, I don't know. But I think that they are almost conscious beings. I really think that they are. Yeah. So that makes sense that you would describe them as your family members. Yeah.
That's right. Well, they carry their own energy. They carry a specific vibration. And when you apply that vibration, if you want to look at this very, scientifically, when you apply the vibration of certain crystals to an area of the body or a chakra that corresponds to that vibration, it is going to bring that area into harmony with itself. It's going to entrain that so that you then are able to heal that portion of the body or the energy there. Crystals are very good at entraining things around them. And there's quite a bit of science behind crystal healing, which is something I was mostly unaware of prior to becoming certified in crystal healing. And I'm really glad I learned that, because it makes so much sense. And it's not just all this magical woo-woo stuff, which I appreciate. I love that. But I'm also an anchor, as Andrea said, and I like to be anchored on planet Earth because that's where I'm living right now. So I want to be a fully participating part of that. So I like knowing the science behind things, if it exists. It's important to me. And I think my clients appreciate it too. It's not just a bunch of, new age stuff. And so I feel very comfortable using crystals because I know that they do work. There's reasons why they work. And I think they only enhance my practice of Reiki. So, yeah.
Did we get any questions, Stephen?
We had a few folks chime in about using crystals. Sandra had mentioned, she said, I haven't been guided to use crystals with Reiki, although I've heard crystals amplify as well. Just a few comments kind of chiming in on what you were saying. No real specific questions. Actually, yeah, just some great comments on a lot of them. Well,
I'm glad about that. That's great.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the group. This is kind of off topic, but it's something I was thinking about today. And this is, it really has nothing to do with anything. It's just my curiosity. Do any of you, Stephen, Karen, Andrea, do any members of your family practice Reiki? Have you trained or attuned any of them?
I trained my sister. One of three sisters. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. How about you, Karen?
I trained my son. Yeah, I attuned my son.
And I trained my son, too, my youngest son. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna have somebody to give me Reiki.
One of my sons.
That's awesome.
Both my sons, and my husband a long time ago, but not holy fire for him. So I don't know.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, most Reiki practitioners that I know have trained members of their family, and myself included. My husband is level 2, uses it on our dogs, which is fine. The dogs love it. One of my sons is a Reiki master practitioner, and another one is level 1. So, yeah, you want to keep it in the family, right? Spread it around.
Yes.
I think it's fun. I really do. So,
I think every family should have at least one.
Yeah,
I think so. At least, least.
That's a good point. That's a good point. A Reiki master in every household. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So what?
Yeah, chicken in every pot, and a Reiki master in every household, right?
Right.
Life would be good.
Yeah.
So what else do we have tonight? What other kind of questions?
I don't know. Oh, people ask me this all the time. It's mostly clients who ask me, but maybe students too, in Reiki 1 and 2. And it's, how many clients do you see in a day? Don't you get so drained doing all that Reiki? And, and I don't know what you all say, but I say, no, I feel great because, and I don't think we talked about this before. I hope not anyway, on the other episodes, but, I tell them that, we're not using our own energy, and that's the key. I guess some other energy modalities might, use their own. I don't know. I mean, I think we've all kind of heard that, right? That you can get drained. But, Reiki's the exception, but that's what I tell them. I often feel better later after I give Reiki.
Right. Yeah. We talked about that last time about doing, I think it was last time, about doing Reiki when you're not feeling well.
Right. Oh, and, that's how it came out. Yeah, that's how it came out.
But it's, right. But how many you do in a day and get tired? I actually feel better when I channel Reiki. What gets tired is my physical self, because I just get tired of, my body is tired, but I feel jazzed energetically. It's just, but the physical body's going, time out. You're not 20 anymore, lady. So, but no, I do enjoy it. It actually makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But I do limit the number of sessions I do. I don't do any more than 3 a day. I have to limit it to that because my sessions are longer than some practitioners. And then I need about a half hour to an hour in between to just kind of clear, cleanse, maybe get a bite to eat. I'm with ground, all that good stuff. And so, yeah, 3 a day is about my limit. How about you ladies? What do you do per day?
I do 4. I do up to 4. I've tried more than that, and it's just not, like you say, it just gets to where you want to be doing something else. I mean, with your body, But so to be my best and offer the best experience, it's 4 or less.
Yeah, 4 for me in a day.
4 for you?
Yeah. And have we talked about grounding? Is that something that students ask you about, or do you talk about that in class?
Yes. We talk about that a lot in Reiki 1. People don't, I don't know about you ladies, but I've found that a lot of people have trouble with the concept of grounding. This is something that I really have to explain in a lot of detail, and a lot of students don't really seem to understand the importance of it. Some people seem to think that if they're grounded, they can't grow spiritually, but it's just the opposite. You need to be grounded in order to grow. Otherwise, you're just sort of floating out into the atmosphere somewhere. So, yeah, grounding is a very important topic. I don't know if we have time to discuss that tonight, but I think that's something worth discussing at some point. Very important. I know how I feel when I'm not grounded. I don't feel well. I mean, it's not a good feeling. So
I'll get a headache.
Something that I think, oh yeah, a headache. You just feel scattered. It's hard to hold a thought. It's just an unpleasant feeling. So I think it's something that every practitioner, Reiki practitioner, or even, somebody who's just doing it for their own healing and self-work, it needs to be very clear about and the importance of it as when you're on the Reiki path. So make a note, Stephen, for next time. What do you think?
Okay. Reiki and grounding.
Okay.
I know, nobody taught me that. And, nobody taught me about grounding after I first learned Reiki. And I had a rough time because I would get these headaches all the time. And then I hated going to the Reiki shares after a while because it's like, oh, well, I know I'm going to have a big headache after the Reiki share. Do I really want to go? It was interfering. And then somebody said, oh, you need to ground. And I went, what? And I tell you, that was it. That was the whole key right there. So
it's so easy to ground yourself too. There's so many ways to do it, and it's very easy, but it's just a matter of doing it, making sure we do it, especially when we're if we're practicing Reiki all day, it's super important that we remain grounded. So I always have a lot of chocolate on hand to help with that. So it's very grounding.
Yeah, I like dark chocolate.
Okay, so well, we can continue with grounding for a bit. We can round it out this week, or we can save grounding and start out with that next week. What do you ladies think?
Well, if we've got 5 minutes, do you think we could talk about our favorite ways to ground?
Yeah, grounding techniques. Let's do that.
Yeah, and they can practice it through the week, and we can pick it up maybe if we want to talk more about it next time.
Yeah.
And people can ask questions. They can ask questions about grounding, and we can have those for when we start next time.
Beautiful.
Or other questions.
Yeah.
You know, another question I get a lot about from students and clients too is about protecting yourself. That kind of goes hand in hand with the grounding and protection. You know, I teach that sort of together in Reiki 1. So that might be something we could include next week too, I think, if that's all right with everyone.
Yeah, that's good.
So always plenty to discuss.
Yeah.
So are we going to go into grounding techniques this week, or we're going to save that till next week?
Favorite ways to ground.
Yeah, favorite ways to ground. Karen, go.
Dark chocolate and tree hugging.
Tree hugging. Nice.
Trees are very grounding.
Yes.
I'll sit, well, if I can, sit up against a tree, hug a tree. Now if I'm somewhere where people are going to look at me like I'm nuts, then I'll just eat some chocolate. But trees are really grounding for me. Earthing, taking your shoes off and walking on the ground.
Yeah. Walking on dirt.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in my office, often between clients, I'll do the moving meditation, that we learn through International Center for Reiki training. And I've even taught clients that because I'll see clients sometimes and they need something to help themselves. So either that or a visualization with roots, and I just really get into it and I feel them going down and really visualize that. Also crystals. You can have grounding crystals that you work with or have in your pocket kind of thing. But those are 3 that I use: the moving meditation, the visualization, and crystals.
Yeah, for me, it's dark chocolate, Karen. Definitely lots of dark chocolate, trees, tree hugging, the tree root method, and crystals. I always have tourmaline in my pocket or onyx. I have tourmaline over the door frames in my home because it deflects negativity, especially because I have practice in my home. So I have it right over the door. And big chunks of tourmaline. God, I hope nothing ever falls on anybody coming in. That just occurred to me. Could be an insurance issue. But yeah, I would say chocolate, tree root, tree hugging, and crystals definitely are my favorite ways. In no particular order, but chocolate probably first.
I have this image in my mind of this huge chunk of black tourmaline, but like well,
I know. I'm thinking, oh boy. I'm going to go check them when I'm done here, make sure they're sturdy and then stable.
Speaking of trees, I use cedarwood, frankincense. I use tree essential oils. Those are all grounding. They have that the energy of the tree. Obviously,
yeah, I guess they do.
Essential oils. So those are really, really grounding.
I love the smell of cedar wood. That's a great scent.
Makes my feet smell good.
Yeah. It's a great scent.
Okay, beautiful.
So there you have it, Stephen.
Our
favorite ways to ground.
Beautifully done, ladies. Thank you so much this evening. A very lively topic discussion. We've had many comments on the post, so please visit that. A lot of comments specifically when certain ladies were speaking, so check that out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to next week, the wrap-up episode. Next week, Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific for Reiki Topics and Techniques. And thank you all, live audience, a beautiful live audience. I think we had, close to 20 peak live viewers. So that's beautiful. That's awesome. And like I say, lots of comments. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Blessings and namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks.
Good